Hi everyone, and thank you so much for joining Sustain Life Journal Yoga today. We will be flowing through a 20-minute Hatha yoga class with a 5-minute meditation at the end. This class will be instructed in English and Sanskrit. And if you enjoy today's class, please feel free to subscribe so that you can always have yoga classes to add to your self-care and wellness routine. So let's go ahead and get started in Balasana with our feet together and our knees out wide and our hands stretched out in front of us. Allow your forehead to gently place onto the mat. Just begin to tap into this present moment, to this time that you set aside for yourself to really take care of you. You deserve all of the extra time and care in the world, and I'm really glad you decided to roll out your mat today and join this yoga class. Begin to gently press into your hands, making your way up onto your heels in a seated position. And we'll continue to tap into this present moment, just arriving onto our mat. You can bring one hand to your belly and one hand to your heart. And just start to take deep inhales and exhales through your nose. Maybe the deepest inhales and exhales you've taken yet today. And just tapping into where you are in this present moment, not focusing on what happened earlier today or what's to come, but just you on your mat with relaxing music, paying attention to your body and how you're feeling. Take a deep inhale through your nose, reaching your hands up over your head. On your exhale, extend your hands out wide, and then begin to wrap your left hand over your right and give yourself a really big hug, a little extra self-love and self-care. Stretching out our shoulders, then you can open up your arms wide again, switching the arm that was on top to the opposite arm. Then open your hands up wide again, and we will roll over onto our hands and knees into a tabletop position. You can feel free to tap your toes on the mat just to release a little bit of tension. And then extend your right leg out behind you, keeping your toes on the mat and just shifting forwards and backwards, really stretching out our right leg. Then when you're ready, lift your right foot up and bring it to the outside of your right hip. Pressing deeply into the palms of your hands, start to shift your hips backwards towards your left heel. You can go to whatever point feels best in your body. You don't have to bring your bum all the way to your heel. But just go to where it feels best, and then find a place of stillness and tap into your inhales and exhales. So we'll start to make our way out of this pose, and instead of just using the strength from our legs, we'll really tune into our core and even our hands to gently pull our body back up into a tabletop position. It's a little tricky, it's a big movement. And then we'll go through a couple rounds of cat and cow with our legs still extended to our right side, arching our back and then allowing our belly to come down towards the earth and lifting our chin, rounding our back again. And then when you're ready, coming back to a tabletop position and resetting. Again, you may want to tap your toes. And then we'll extend our left leg out behind us on the tops of our toes, just shifting forward and back, really stretching out our left leg and a little bit in our arms as well. And when you're ready, you'll lift your left leg, bringing it parallel to your hip. The slower you go, the more strength it takes in your body. And then allow your hips to come down onto your heels, really stretching through your fingertips and allowing your forehead to come down onto the mat. And then just surrendering into this pose, really letting your body just be right where it is, right where it's supposed to be. Begin to press into your knee and your hands, using the strength of your core to pull yourself up into a tabletop position with your left leg extended. And then we'll move through our rounds of cat and cow, drawing our belly button in and tucking our chin towards our chest. And then on your exhales, allowing your belly button to come down towards the earth and lifting your chin up towards the sky. Just moving through these funky little cat and cows at your own pace. When you're ready, you can come to a tabletop position, stacking your hips over your knees. And when you're ready, you can lift your hips up, moving in to our downward facing dog, Adho Mukha Svanasana. We're pressing into our hands and allowing our heels to come down towards the mat. Our chest is moving towards our thighs and knees. You can begin by bending one knee, then the other. And then eventually coming to a place of stillness whenever you're ready. In our Hatha yoga classes, we tend to hold poses a bit longer than in a vinyasa yoga class. So if you ever need to, please feel free to come into the balasana pose, which is the one that we started with, or any pose that feels like a resting pose for you. Slowly and mindfully begin to tiptoe your feet up towards your hands, coming into our Uttanasana pose. You're more than welcome to bring a little bit of width to your stance, toe heeling your feet out to meet the edges of your mat. Maybe wrapping your hands to opposite elbows, swaying side to side, and just allowing all the stress to melt off of your back. Remember to keep a slight bend in your knees to protect your back. Take a deep inhale through your nose and begin to move into our halfway lift, bringing your hands to your thighs, your shins, or even the floor. Then exhale or release. On your next inhale, raise your hands up over your head, coming into our mountain pose, our hips over our ankles, really reaching through our fingertips, drawing your belly button in. And yes, just standing here with your hands over your head, being aware of how this movement feels in your body. And when you're ready, we will begin to move into Utkatasana chair pose, allowing your hips to come down behind you like you're sitting in a chair. Drawing your belly button in and tucking your tailbone under to protect your lower back. And finding the variation that works best for you. Maybe you want your feet wider apart, your hands to your heart or behind you, in front of you. There's a bunch of different options to make this pose feel good in your body. You definitely should not feel any pain. So if you do, please be mindful and find a modification that works better. Take a deep inhale, and on your exhale, you can straighten your legs, reaching back up into mountain pose, stretching everything out, even shaking out your legs if that feels best. And then on your exhale, we can sink our hips down again, but this time we'll come up onto our toes and allow our hands to come back behind us, moving into a drinking bird pose. And when you're ready, you can fold forward into our Uttanasana forward fold. Just allowing the top of your head to melt towards the mat. And then planting your hands on the mat, moving into a plank pose. Bringing your feet to the back of the mat. Sorry, I forgot to say that part. And then allow your knees to come down onto the mat. Tuck your elbows in, and we'll allow our chest to come down onto the mat. And then lift up into our upward facing dog, Urdhva Mukha Svanasana. Pressing into the palms of your hands and the tops of your toes. Maybe looking over one shoulder, then the other. When you're ready, you can begin to press up, either coming onto your knees or just moving into a plank, and then making your way into a downward facing dog. Take a deep inhale through your nose, and on your exhale, lift your left leg up behind you. Bend your knee in towards your chest, and then allow your left foot to come in between your hands. Reach your hands up over your head, moving into our Ashta Chandrasana. Your left knee should stack over your left ankle, and we're reaching up through our fingertips. On your next exhale, we'll open up into our Warrior Two, Virabhadrasana 2 pose, allowing our right foot to come parallel with the back of our mat and our hands to extend out in front of us and behind us. And on your next exhale, you can allow your hands to frame your left foot, coming into a plank, holding for one breath, and then shifting your hips back and moving into our Adho Mukha Svanasana. Take a deep inhale, lifting your right leg up behind you, and then bending your knee and allowing your foot to come in between your hands, and then rising up into our Ashta Chandrasana. Right knee over right ankle, sinking deeply into the hips and reaching up in our fingertips. On our next exhale, you can spin your back foot, moving into Virabhadrasana 2. Keep the integrity of your right knee over your right ankle. On your next exhale, windmill your hands down onto the mat and make your way to a downward facing dog. Begin to draw your left knee in towards your chest, and we'll step it in between our hands. And that's a bit of a funky transition, but we'll start to walk our hands over to the right in between our legs as we move into our Prasarita Padottanasana. Our forward fold with wide legs. You can bring your hands to your thighs, your shins, or your heels, and just gently bring your chest towards your legs to deepen the intensity of this pose. We'll be here for a few breaths, so feel free to maybe shift into one leg and then the other, or just stay in stillness. Just keep your attention on your inhales and exhales. Gently allow your hands to meet your mat, and we'll lift up halfway into a halfway lift. And then spin your right foot and we'll come into a low lunge. Allow your right foot to meet your left, and then we'll shift our hips back into a downward facing dog. And then eventually we'll just come to a seated position. If that transition wasn't super smooth, just make your way into a seated position. And then we will come onto our backs and we will move into Supta Baddha Konasana. So our feet together, our knees out wide, and our hands either extended on our sides or bringing one hand to your belly and one hand to your heart. And just tapping in to how you're feeling in this exact moment. There's no right or wrong answer. Just listening to your emotions, listening to maybe the monkey mind of thoughts that are racing. And just kindly reminding yourself that in this present moment, here on your mat, everything is okay. Everything's exactly how it's supposed to be. Maybe just feeling grateful for just that split second of perfection. So we'll lay here allowing our hips to get a little extra stretch. Just stay focused on your inhales and your exhales. More than welcome to take Savasana in our Supta Baddha Konasana pose, or if you'd like to move into a more traditional Shavasana pose, You can gently bring your hands to the outsides of your knees, closing your legs like a book, and then extending your legs and hands out to your sides, and just releasing, just surrendering into the mat, letting go of how your class went today, maybe how you wanted it to go, and just accepting where you are right here and right now. Our Savasana pose will blend into our meditation today. It'll be about 5 minutes long, and I will let you know when it's complete. But just take the time to rest, to not get caught up in your thoughts, just on your breath, or maybe the music that will be playing, and just relax. And I'll let you know when the meditation is complete. Begin to make small movements in your fingers and your toes, maybe deepening your inhales and exhales, and just reawakening your body to re-enter your day, this day that we've been given as a gift, and hopefully we can enjoy it more now that we've taken time to take care of ourselves and become more present and aware. If you'd like to roll over onto your favorite side and make your way up into a seated position, you are more than welcome to. I really appreciate you joining Sustain Life Journal Yoga today and prioritizing your wellness and self-care routine. I hope you enjoyed today's class, and if you did, please feel free to subscribe to the channel. And if you'd like to learn more about yoga lifestyle and sustainable living, you can join the newsletter at sustainlifejournal.com. Thanks again for joining, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, and I will see you next time.